I say this a lot. This video is about one of the worst mayors in America today. Like, for instance, she says she needs to fly first class for thousands of dollars because she's a black woman and it's unsafe for black women to fly coach. I am not joking.
She insists that flying coach is unsafe for black women. Here's the quote. "My travel accommodations are a matter of safety, not of luxury. As all women know, our health and safety are often disregarded and we are left to navigate alone. Anyone who wants to question how I protect myself just doesn't understand the world black women walk in."
This mayor also owes like $95,000 to the IRS.
Mayor Cantrell is addressing her tax debt with the IRS. She and her husband reportedly owe the government more than $95,000 in unpaid taxes over a 6-year span. There are now several tax liens against her home.
Also, a businessman was indicted for paying the mayor bribes.
Payments made by Randy Farrell to Mayor Latoya Cantrell. It does not name Latoya Cantrell by name. It calls her public official one, but it is very clear that it's referring to her.
And now the mayor herself is indicted on 11 counts.
With Mayor Latoya Cantrell now under federal indictment, accused of fraud, conspiracy, and covering up her alleged crimes, all eyes shift to federal courts as everyone waits to see how these 11 charges play out against her.
We got a lot to talk about. This is Mayor Latoya Cantrell. She has the distinction of being the first black woman to serve as New Orleans mayor, and she's been in that role since 2018.
For the first time in its 300-year history, New Orleans has a female mayor. Latoya Cantrell was elected in a landslide victory with 60% of the votes. She beat another woman in the month-long runoff, which came to an end last night.
So Latoya Cantrell gets in the office, and then the IRS comes down and says, well, hold on, Madam Mayor, you owe us $95,000.
Mayor Cantrell is addressing her tax debt with the IRS. She and her husband reportedly owe the government more than $95,000 in unpaid taxes over a 6-year span.
This is an issue that has been disclosed by me personally and also being worked on personally. As it relates to city government and running, we have not misstepped at all, and there will be no missteps in the Cantrell administration, as we have routinely proven. As it relates to trust, I will say that the people of this city, they have a mayor that really gets it and who's experiencing challenges and difficulties her own self, and at the same time doing what it takes to meet the needs of people.
Now, under Cantrell's leadership, New Orleans became the murder capital of the United States.
Tonight, New Orleans is a city in crisis.
Police are looking for leads.
Extremely violent crime wave.
The teenage boy is now dead.
Shot and killed overnight.
Dubbed the murder capital of the country.
Now, to say crime is bad in New Orleans is an understatement. It's so bad that the sitting DA in New Orleans was carjacked with his mom in the car.
The Orleans Parish District Attorney's Office confirms DA Jason Williams and his mother are two of the latest victims of an armed carjacking, this one in the Lower Garden District. They say they were carjacked at gunpoint as Williams was helping his 78-year-old mother into her car.
New Orleans 911, this is your emergency.
This is District Attorney Jason Williams, and I was just carjacked at the corner of Race and Magazine Street.
Were any weapons involved?
Yes, 2 guns. 3 to 4 assailants.
Get out the car, Mama. Let me get my mom out the car. Come on. Come this way.
So under Cantrell's leadership, New Orleans has turned into Mad Max Thunderdome. Now, Mayor Cantrell decided that she wanted to fly around the country and decided to start flying first class.
Now, she was doing business for the city, flying to different locations, trying to sign some deals or whatever. Now, the city's policy says is that if you're flying or traveling on the city's dime, you're supposed to try to get the cheapest airfare possible. And any upgrades to first class, business class, or whatever whatever is on you. So they'll buy your ticket, right? A coach ticket or the cheapest ticket. And then if you want to upgrade it, you can pay the upgrade fee, right? But they'll pay for you to get there. If you want to take a first class flight, then you got to pay the difference. So this mayor was doing that. She was upgrading her flights to first class. And then some people in the city called her out and was like, well, hold on. You're supposed to be flying coach. If you're flying first class, you got to pay us that money back. And she said, no, she couldn't do it because it was a safety issue, because she was a black woman and black women are essentially not safe in coach.
He insists that flying coach is unsafe for black women. Here's the quote. My travel accommodations are a matter of safety, not of luxury. As all women know, our health and safety are often disregarded and we are left to navigate alone. Anyone who wants to question how I protect myself just doesn't understand the world black women walk in.
So now after that went bad, the mayor decided to pay back the $30,000 in flight upgrades.
New Orleans mayor now says she will pay back the $30K for first class flights. Embattled, New Orleans mayor Latoya Cantrell said Thursday she'll pay the city back for nearly $30,000 worth of first-class plane tickets to Europe, a sudden U-turn that came after a city council member threatened to take action to claw the cash back.
And then Mayor Cantrell had a personal tragedy where her husband passed away back in 2023.
Story just into our newsroom. New Orleans Mayor Cantrell's husband has passed away. A longtime lawyer and public defender, Jason Cantrell's death was announced by the mayor's office this morning.
Now, fast forward to 2023, where the mayor is in the news again because a local businessman has just been indicted by the feds for paying bribes to the mayor of New Orleans.
Here, we just got it moments ago, and it actually tracks exactly what we've been reporting for most of this year about payments made by Randy Farrell to Mayor Latoya Cantrell. It does not name Latoya Cantrell by name. It calls her public official one, but it is very clear that it's referring to her. And as we previously reported, it says that Randy Farrell purchased tickets, $6,000 worth of tickets to the 2019 NFC Championship game for the mayor and others.
Now, with all these controversies, people getting indicted, the $30,000 airplane thing, her approval ratings tanked.
And this poll is simply in line with every other poll that's come out over the last few years. So are all the polls wrong? I mean, all the polls can't be wrong.
The head of the New Orleans Crime Coalition says its recent survey of 800 residents finds 72% of people are displeased with the direction the city is heading.
So it's a terrible number, and it's hard to generate a hopeful future out of so many people feeling that way.
The survey finds Mayor Cantrell has a 24% approval rating for her handling of crime and just a 30% approval rating overall. Cantrell had this to say when asked about the numbers at a press conference Thursday.
So I will speak to the approval rating of this group that I don't embrace at all. It's not accurate.
Now, as you see, Mayor Cantrell has a lot on her plate, but she has the distinction of being the first black woman, or the first woman period, to be elected to this position. And now she has the distinction of being the first person, woman, man, or anybody, to ever be indicted by the feds while being mayor.
It accuses Cantrell and Vappy of conspiracy, wire fraud, and lying to a grand jury. This is the first time in New Orleans history a sitting mayor faces federal criminal charges.
The indictment of Mayor Latoya Cantrell, a historic development and a city 384,000 people call home. Never before has a sitting New Orleans mayor faced criminal prosecution. In the months before the federal grand jury handed up the indictment, Cantrell responded to questions about whether she'd received a target letter from the feds.
I've been a center of countless investigations, right? And I have always complied, and that's what I'll continue to do. I do know that this seems to be kind of prevalent relative to black leadership, and I think that I'm not exempt from that.
Like all defendants, Cantrell is presumed innocent until proven guilty.
So as you saw, Mayor Cantrell pulled out the race card, but the feds slapped back with the facts. One of the facts that the feds pointed out is that the mayor was cheating on her late husband with a member of her security detail. Now, for those of you who may have forgotten, Cantrell's husband died in 2023 while she was in office, but in the felony indictment released by the federal government, they claim here that Cantrell has been banging her security detail since 2021. That's 2 years before her husband passed away. Here it is from the indictment. In or around October 2021, Cantrell and Vappy, her security guard, developed a personal and intimate relationship. To hide their relationship from detection and to maximize their time together, Cantrell and Vappy exploited their public positions to develop and implement a scheme to defraud the city of New Orleans and the New Orleans Police Department. So she had been cheating on her husband for about 2 years before he passed away. And because he was the mayor's bodyguard, he was able to go with her on trips around the country. Here are some examples of their interesting travel.
Here's our initial story, which aired in November of 2022. On a trip, the two took to Washington, D.C. in August of that year. The mayor arrived in D.C. on an early Sunday flight, accompanied by NOPD officer Jeffrey Vappy, who served as her security on duty. The mayor had no meetings on her calendar that day, but Vappy, her security, billed taxpayers for 15 hours of work, 7 a.m. until 10 at night. The next day, the only event on the mayor's calendar was a 1:30 p.m. meeting. That day, Vappy claims he worked another 15 hours, from 7 a.m. until 10 at night. Then on Tuesday, the two flew back, according to the mayor's schedule, an early morning flight. Records show that flight arrived back in New Orleans 23 minutes early, just before 10 a.m. Records show the mayor had 2 other members of her security team on duty that day. Still, after returning to New Orleans around 10 in the morning, Vappy continued to get paid, going off the clock at 9 that night. In early April, Vappy traveled with the mayor to San Francisco for a conference on climate change. The meeting wrapped up on Friday at noon, but the two didn't leave until the next night, taking a red-eye back on Saturday night at 11:05. The flight landed at 5:22 a.m. back in New Orleans. We've confirmed it was on time. The day of that 5:22 a.m. arrival back home, Vappy stayed on the clock until 12 that night. So on Saturday and Sunday, when all he apparently did was fly on a plane from San Francisco back to New Orleans, taxpayers paid Vappy for 30 hours of work. 15 hours on Saturday, another 15 on Sunday.
So now obviously the overtime is extremely questionable, to say the least. Matter of fact, some would say possibly criminal. And this wasn't just happening on trips. The mayor and her bodyguard were going around the city, drinking, having a good time, all on a taxpayer dime.
July 28, 2022, NOPD officer Jeffrey Vappy at the bar of French Quarter restaurant Doris Metropolitan, his hand touching a filled wine glass. Vappy sitting next to Mayor Latoya Cantrell. The time of this picture, 8:20 p.m. According to city records, though, at this exact time, Officer Vappy was on the NOPD clock, being paid by taxpayers until 9 o'clock that night. After the MCC filed a complaint about another picture of Vappy and Cantrell eating on a French Quarter restaurant balcony. Goyeneche says the NOPD has now opened a second file on this new picture, a second investigation into Vappy. We've located a third time Vappy and Cantrell ate together. This post coming from Instagram. February 22nd of this year, a Thursday. The mayor's schedule clear the entire day. No scheduled meetings or phone calls on her calendar. According to city records, the mayor didn't send one work-related email or text message that day. At lunchtime, she showed up to the restaurant Company Burger on Ferret with Officer Vappy eating together outside. That day, Vappy billed taxpayers for 12 hours of work, including during the time he ate with the mayor.
So now, people, I'm going to tell you, this isn't enough to show that she's sleeping with the guy. Is it enough to show that there's an issue with the overtime? Yes, but it's not enough to show she's sleeping with the guy. So what did the feds do? They got their text messages. And that's when the bomb exploded.
And to perpetuate their continued fraud, including using a secure messaging platform, WhatsApp. Specifically, Cantrell and Vappy used the WhatsApp platform to exchange over 15,000 messages, pictures, and audio clips in an 8-month period. They also used WhatsApp to intimidate subordinates, to harass a citizen, to lie to colleagues and associates, to delete evidence, to make false statements to FBI agents, to give the government an affidavit signed under oath that contained numerous false statements, and ultimately to commit perjury before a federal grand jury, all for the purpose of distracting and impeding inquiries and investigations into their activities, including a federal grand jury investigation. That both Vappy and Cantrell were aware that their conduct broke laws, criminal laws. For instance, in April 2022, an associate of Cantrell's explicitly told her in multiple text messages that spending public funds and using public resources for her personal relationship was illegal.
Now, even with the text messages and all this other evidence they got with the pictures and the timesheets, the mayor said these are all false allegations.
So as it relates to my professional relationship with Officer Vappy, that's where it is. It's strictly professional.
Following our stories, which started airing in November of 2022, Mayor Cantrell repeatedly called her relationship with Vappy professional, calling him a trusted advisor.
As I've stated, based on the false allegations that come my way, by the time I finish this job, literally, accused of sleeping with half of the city of New Orleans, both genders and all pronouns. I'm known as Teddy sometimes and then Teddy other times. So with that, false allegations do not, that's basically all I have to say about it.
So with this treasure trove of information and all of this evidence showing that they were clearly sleeping together and that they were clearly fleecing the city for thousands of dollars in pay, the feds indicted the mayor and her boyfriend.
Evening, I'm John Snell.
And I'm Meg Gatto. The 18-count indictment accuses Mayor Latoya Cantrell and her former NOPD bodyguard Jeffrey Vappy of conspiracy, wire fraud, and lying to a grand jury.
The indictment alleges Cantrell and Vappy took 14 different trips together to places such as San Francisco, New York, Martha's Vineyard, and Los Angeles, costing city taxpayers more than $70,000 just for Vappy's travel expenses, separate from Mayor Cantrell's own travel cost. According to the indictment, around October 2021, Vappy went to Scotland with Cantrell and later sent her a WhatsApp message, which is a free encrypted phone messaging app. Vappy's message allegedly said the Scotland trip was, quote, where it all started. The indictment also says Vappy and Cantrell deleted messages they exchanged. Federal prosecutors say Cantrell signed and authorized the travel expense forms Vappy submitted, despite knowing they falsely reflected that Vappy had engaged exclusively in official business activities. The feds say Cantrell and Vappy also discussed they needed to be careful and to be straight together, allegedly to avoid having their relationship detected. The feds say when a city associate tried to warn her and stop the mayor, texting, quote, spending public funds and using public resources for your personal relationship was illegal, Cantrell responded that her relationship with Vappy was not about a personal relationship.
So with all that, the mayor pleaded not guilty. And obviously, she's pulling the race card, right? This is because I'm black and they're coming after black mayors.
Been a center of countless investigations, right? And I have always complied, and that's what I'll continue to do. I do know that this seems to be kind of prevalent relative to black leadership, and I think that I'm not exempt from that.
Now remember, this investigation started under the Biden-Harris administration. So it seems like Biden-Harris were racist against black people in office, because don't forget they did the same thing to the New York City mayor, right? He was under a federal indictment under the Biden administration. So are they saying the Biden administration was one of the most racist administrations in the history of America? That would be crazy. So let me know what you think in the comments section. Do you think the mayor's a crook and is going to jail? She's facing 20 years in prison, but more likely, if she's convicted, she's going to get like 3, maybe 5 years for all this. There are a lot of counts, but she's not doing 20 years. So do you think the mayor is a crook and is going to jail? Let me know in the comments section. My name is Nate the Lawyer. I'm out. Peace. Now, hold on. That's usually my outro. But I forgot to mention something in this video that I'm going to mention now for those of you who watch to the end. And that person's name is Tiffany Hinyard. So this sounds extremely close to what Tiffany Hinyard was doing. Remember, she was banging one of her security officers who got like 300 hours of overtime in 1 week. Remember that story?
The officers are paid every 2 weeks, which without overtime is 80 hours. But when they're put on Hinyard's detail, that 80 hours balloons to well over 100 hours, sometimes 200 hours. And in the case of Officer Terry Young last May, 303 hours worked over a 2-week period. That resulted in a single paycheck of more than $13,000.
How does a person put in a 2-week pay period, 303 hours? That's impossible. That's impossible.
336
Does he
hours.
never go to sleep?
In fact, there are 336 hours total in 2 weeks, meaning Young was not being paid for only 33 hours over that period.
Now, let me break that down for you. So that means in a 2-week period, that's 14 days. He was only not paid for 1.5 days. Now, that sounds awfully close to what's happening in New Orleans. And the Fed started looking into the New Orleans stuff first, and now they're looking into Dalton, because don't forget, there's also a grand jury looking into Tiffany Hinyard's Dalton exploits. So we'll see what happens with that. I don't know why it's taken so long for them to move on Tiffany Hinyard, but it seems like they dealt with Cantrell first, and we'll see if they deal with Hinyard second, because the situation's pretty much identical. It seems like Hinyard was banging somebody on a police force and he's getting massive overtime, and then Cantrell's case, she's banging somebody on a police force and getting massive amounts of overtime. So we'll see how it all plays out. But for you guys who are following the Tiffany Hinyard story, do you think the feds are gonna eventually come down on Hinyard? Because they came down on LaToya Cantrell. I don't see how Hinyard can get out of it, because she's even worse. All right, guys, I'm out. I'll keep you updated. Peace.